And of course, what a Saturday it was here in Baltimore as Navy came from behind to beat Army 17-16. Back to back 10-win seasons for the first time in school history, back to back Commander in Chief's trophy titles. And this man was one of the significant reasons why he is Navy senior. Eli Heidenreich, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Eli, it's Glenn. It's great to catch up, man. Thank you for taking the time, and congratulations.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Eli, tell me if I'm wrong, right? But I was sitting in the post-game press conference, and I sensed there were some unspoken like emotions that you were going through after that, and it felt like you were kind of still taking it all in. Can you? Was I right to kind of notice that? And can you tell me what all of it meant to you in the aftermath of playing your last Army Navy game?
Yeah, absolutely. That game it's very emotional, just across the board, and something that it takes a few days for you to really process all those feelings. And I think initially after the game I was just super proud of my team and the way we played and the way we fought back. And after kind of settling down for a little bit and having some time to think about the game, it's a little bittersweet. And I say that because it's just the last opportunity I'll have to go out and play in a game with that much meaning. So that's why it's a little sad when you take a step back and really think about it.
I completely understand, man. There is nothing like it in sports. All right, let's relive a couple of things. Let's start with the fumble. I know I mean I talked to Alex about it afterwards, and even he wasn't sure if he actually got his hand on the ball. Like, but were you twofold? One, were you aware that like this how close this was to being a touchdown the other way? Like that Eric Ford legitimately had the ball with the chance to go the other way with nothing but real estate until Alex makes the play. And then like walk me through what that moment is like. Is it calm? Is it collected for you? You guys are so businesslike, or is it hair on fire, kind of panicky in a moment like that?
Honestly, it was a little more calm than I think you would have thought.
Huh.
And then, that the reason for that being is just kind of how much of a surprise it was. Like I thought we were good to go. We're a yard away from scoring. There's gonna, just score a touchdown real quick, and then all of a sudden I turn around and the ball's on the ground. Um, and I didn't really realize at the time that Alex had like hit it out like that, and that he had almost scooped and scored and ran it all the way back. I kind of realized that after watching the replay. So during the moment, I didn't really realize how close to like disaster we truly were.
Man,
I kind of realized that after the fact.
did you know before we relive the touchdown? Did you know that you guys would go for it on fourth down? Going into the third down play, after the third down play, when did that become? Did you have to politic for it at all?
You know, I did not know what we were gonna do. I thought maybe we'd kick the field goal, but thinking about how much time was left and how their offense had been moving the ball, and I think it would have been tough for us to get the ball back in that situation. So I kind of had a gut feeling that that's what we were gonna do.
When you realized that you were one on one, right? Like, did you know like before the ball was even thrown? Did you know like, oh, we got a touchdown here? Like, did you know as soon as you were one on one?
I did, and the reason for that being, so if you watch the play before, they play pretty much the exact same coverage, and the safety who was covering me was playing extremely heavy outside leverage and trying to
Mm-hmm.
take away the corner route. And I mean, you would assume that with that leverage, they'd throw either the outside backer, the inside backer underneath for some additional help, but they didn't. It was just one on one man coverage, and I had the inside route, and it was not super tough. So just ran up, stuck my foot in the ground, score the touchdown.
It was there. It was there.
Yep.
I really appreciate the highlights courtesy of CBS. Is yeah, this was the play, and the other thing that's crazy to me too is I had brought up like there was the third down play in the third quarter from like I think the 11 where Blake had nearly gotten in the end zone, and it felt like they were still very seriously concerned about that. As you saw, it felt like they were double spying him in that spot.
Hmm.
Despite you guys being back at the 8, like that's how much of a threat he was, and I think that obviously helped.
Absolutely.
So you get this, the game's not over at that point, right?
Correct.
The confidence that you had in your defense. You mentioned like how they had done in the first half, but for like the last 20 plus minutes of the game, your defense allowed a total of -1 yards, which is just so absurd to say out loud. What clicked? Like, what did you have this sense? Like, was there something said at halftime? Like, can you take us into how everything flipped to make this happen in the second half?
Yeah. So there were from talking to some of the defensive guys after there were some X's and O's adjustments. I don't really know to what scale, but I think Army had done a pretty good job of scheming them up a little bit, and going into halftime, they had the chance to make some changes to how they'd play some things, and I think that was one of the big factors going into the second half. Um, was just kind of that X's and O's side, and then I think across the board, as a team, our attitude going into halftime, we weren't down. I would not say we were down. We just needed to get fired up a little bit, and I think we had some guys go around and get us moving again, and get us in the right headspace, and I think that was big. Just kind of taking that mental reset at halftime, and coming out with the right mindset.
He is Eli Heidenreich. He's with us here on GCR. Eli, a lot of you guys talked about adversity after the game, right? And I know that you and I have talked before about, there's something hilarious about a Navy football team facing adversity, right? Because nothing on the field can compare to what it is that you guys do every day and that you're going to be doing moving forward. But, like, what is it? Again, where does it come from that none of this stuff phases you guys? That Blake can be kind of a little bit erratic, right? And none of it phases him. How do you guys manage to hang in there when things are going wrong on the road and neutral places against your biggest rival, and that none of it ever gets to you?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing, and I believe I've said it before, is just kind of having Blake at the forefront. He's truly the leader of our offense, and the guy that people look up to whenever things aren't going great. And he would be the first to tell you that I think the game on Saturday this past weekend was not his best one. He made some mistakes, turned the ball over, and that's okay. He was not pressing. He was not stressed out. He was calm the entire game. And, I think that helped kind of bring us together on offense and, settle us down in times. But that also helps him perform in times that, we need it as an offense.
The Blake reference in particular, it felt like there was maybe something a little personal, right? And I get it's Army Navy. It's always going to be personal. I understand that, but it felt like you guys were letting on to maybe you didn't love some of the things they were saying, and that maybe it went beyond a little bit, just more than your typical Army Navy game.
Yeah. I don't want to get into it too much, but I feel like that there's a lot of respect that comes from our side, and sometimes I feel like it's kind of batted away, if that makes sense, and they don't really accept that. And then just in the game, little things, just chirping the entire game, and that happens in football, so you can't really say much, but there's little things like ticky tacky things that just don't have a place in football, in my opinion, and it feels good to be on the winning side when things like that are going on.
I
So
appreciate that. I appreciate that a great deal. He's Eli Heidenreich, and he is with us here on GCR. Eli, I know you get one more game, right? Like you get one more opportunity to go out there with your brothers, but now that we're at that point, right? Can you attempt to define what these years have meant for you with this experience of playing football at the Naval Academy, and for you in particular, like the ups and the downs, right? Because you were there for a really difficult time of transition. To come out on the other side like this, can you put all of that into words?
Yeah. I could be here for hours talking about my experiences and what it's meant to me. But I kind of think a good way to sum it up would just be I'm super thankful for it, and the reason for that is I think there's been a lot of lessons that I'll take away from this program, and what it's given to me and taught me. But I think the thing that I'm most thankful for are the people and the relationships that I've formed. It's funny, I look around in the room, uh, and all of my best friends in the whole world are on the Navy football team, which is pretty awesome. So I get to go play football with my best friends in the whole world every single day, and I'll be able to carry on those relationships in the future, and it'll look a little different. We'll all be serving and doing different things in life, but I'll still have those relationships regardless, and that's what I'm super thankful for.
I loved what Blake said about like other schools talk about a brotherhood, and these are guys that might know each other for 8 weeks, and then that's the entirety of it. But you
Yep.
guys, it really is. It's something different. It's something so special. Lot of people talking about, man, Eli Heidenreich. The more I look at him, the more I see like Julian Edelman in him. There was a lot of conversation about that. How excited are you about the opportunity that you have? We saw obviously for Ray, it worked out really well for him a year ago. How excited are you about that opportunity to try to prove this now at the next level?
Yeah, I'm super grateful to just kind of even have the chance to go out and show my skill set, and you know hear back if people think that I'm good enough to play in the NFL. I think that that's super cool and something that I've been dreaming of since I was a kid. I think any little kid playing football, growing up is like, I'm gonna go be in the NFL when I'm older, and it's crazy to think that I'll have at least the opportunity to go out and hopefully do that. It's really I'm super grateful for it.
I know it's awkward because I know you and Alex were like openly campaigning to end up back in Pittsburgh with the Steelers, but we need to keep you the hell away from that. We need you to that to be like the first of many games that you're going to play at M&T Bank Stadium moving forward. That's
Yeah.
the way we're going to need it, which I'm sure would be very awkward for your family. I
Hmm.
have no doubt that would be uncomfortable, but we need to figure out a way to make that happen. We
Yeah.
need that in our lives.
Yeah, I'd be happy anywhere.
I know that's true. I know that's true. Eli, it jumps out at me, right? That for everybody that was there, I mean, and all of us that have experienced it, that it is the single best moment of the sporting calendar every year. Like, it is Army Navy, but yet there are people that still don't get it, right? Like, and I'm sure you guys are aware of prominent national college football voices that are in favor of, well, but we should be playing, they'll say real games on this day. We should be playing, doing other things. Or Kirk Herbstreit, there was no football today. Like, there was a lot of that going on. And there's a lot of talk about, the group of five maybe being left out of the playoff moving forward. Knowing what you guys have done, what is your reaction when you hear all of that, and how infuriating is it to suggest that a program like yours, who easily could have found your way into the playoff this year, should just be left out?
Yeah. It's definitely a little frustrating, and I feel it's a little disrespectful to us and the guys over at West Point. And I feel like we put on a very entertaining football game every year. Like you go back and watch the last like 5 Army Navy games. There's some sort of super hyped up moment in the game that like completely alters like the game, and there's always drama in the game, and fun things going on, and it's always entertaining. So I feel like that, first off, we put out a fantastic product each year, and in my opinion, it's the purest form of football is the game between Army Navy, right? There's no NIL. It's just two teams that love each other playing smash mouth football for 4 quarters like that. Well, and then you throw in the whole, you know, military side of things and what we're playing for. It's such a beautiful game, and I just don't understand how people don't have the love and respect for the game that we do. But I think it's simple. I think that this game needs to stand alone, and where it's at in December in an outdoor stadium. Um, I do think it needs to stand alone and have its own place. And I think that the current system that we have like makes sense. I don't think we need to change anything. It works for both worlds. So
Correct. Correct. Amen is what I'd like to say to all of
yeah,
that. A freaking men, man. And I'll add this to you. And obviously I was there this week, and I've been to a lot of them over the years. But some of the years that I haven't been there, it's because my family has a holiday gathering around this time, and it's something that can bring families together. Is watching Army Navy. It's something where your aunt, who isn't a football fan at all, would say, "I'll watch Army Navy because of the respect that I have for these young men." Um, I pray that we don't screw this up, that we understand that some things matter a little bit more than just, how much money can we squeeze out of a playoff game. All right, I'm grandstanding now. You don't have to worry about that. Eli, I got to imagine, right? Like we've. Do you go to the bag of tricks for the bowl game now? Like now that it's the last one. Like Alex joked about asking for some defensive snaps after the play he made. Do you campaign ahead, like to throw the ball in this one? I'd like to do. Do you try to pull everything out of the bag of tricks in the final game?
yeah, that would be fun. I've been joking with our safeties coach for the last like 2 years about putting me in for a play at safety. So who knows? Maybe I'll get one play at safety. Going back to my
Yeah.
high school football days would be funny, but we'll see. That'll be enjoyable.
And I know for you guys, it's a big deal. It's about making another statement against a Big 12 team. Like you did it a
Mhm.
year ago. It's maybe a reminder for all of these ghouls that say things like, "Well, we got to worry about the safety of players." Like you guys just beat Oklahoma last year. Right?
Yep.
Like they're in the playoff right now. And I know that's a big deal to you guys to make that statement again, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's I feel like every game is for us to an extent, and I think a lot of the time that's because people, will win games, but people still don't. It feels like they still don't think much of us sometimes and think we're capable. But I think we go out and have that little chip on our shoulder, and that we want to go and show that we are.
Man, Eli Heidenreich, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed watching you play football these 4 years, and how awesome it's been, and all the records that you've set and continue to break. There's got to still be one that you can get before it's over. I know you have basically all of them now, but there's got to still be one more that you can get before it's all said and done. Can you remind everybody how they can follow you on Twitter and Instagram?
Yeah, I think at Heidenreich 44 on Twitter and Instagram.
Eli, congratulations on everything you've accomplished. May there be one more awesome win in it before you head out. We look forward to chatting you as you continue on in your football career. Thank you for taking the time for us once more, and congratulations again.
Sure. Thank you, Glenn.